I'm Emma, and I'm going to read Chapter 2 of Branded. So I hope you will all enjoy. Swords, shields, and metal armor glistened in the sunlight. My eyes ached from the glare of the battalions of mighty Tarlan soldiers riding away. My face pressed against the glass of my window while I watched soldier after soldier ride out of the gates and over the bridge to Fardmore. I was not with them. Sighing, I backed away from my window and sat down on my bed. The rebels were led by Larkos. The mere mention of him is the epitome of cruelty. Attacking glorious Tarlan cities, he ravaged them for all their riches, took slaves from the greatest of families, and killed thousands. Under threat of death or enslavement, he forced the simple farmers of Tarlan, who would usually pay homage and tax to the king, to be in allegiance with him. City by city, his army desolated the land, killing, enslaving, and robbing the subjects of the king. The Canston rebels wreaked havoc everywhere they went, with the terrible but mysterious god Morglin on their side. The rebels devastated Tarlan, changing it from a mighty nation into a divided land. The rebels were nothing but trouble, and I wanted nothing more than to destroy every one of them. But all I can remember is that horrible day when a rebel soldier called my name. The curse of my name. I, Princess Mercy, one of the greatest archers of Tarlan, was stuck at home with nothing to do but knit and waste away the hours, waiting for my confounded brothers to return with all their glorious trophies and mighty tales. My irritating name. How I abhorred it. Mercy, of all things. Before I was born, my mother pleaded to the god Elar, the god who had deserted Tarlan. Blessed by his ear, she asked him to make me merciful. Why she would do that, no one can say. So the day I was born, I was named Mercy, and since that day, if any man, woman, or child pleads mercy from me, nothing in my power can stop me from granting it, no matter how much I abhor them. I lie back on my pillows and stare at the ceiling. Paintings of mighty wars, the history of Tarlan documented on my roof. Mighty men and women fighting for the right cause. Kings on their powerful steeds with their sons at their sides, driving their blades into the enemy. The broken blades of the enemy on the ground. Blood, the dying, the dead. The victorious Tarlan king with his sons at his sides. How I wished to be painted on the roof. But I never could, because I had to be merciful because of my mother, who, without consulting me, got Elar to give me the curse of mercy, crippling me for life. The castle and the city were in the hands of my eldest brother, Justice, so I decided to descend from my room and go complain to him. As the eldest of the royal family, Justice was the heir to the throne, to inherit the kingdom of Tarlan. Beloved by all and respected, he was to the point of making the rest of us look bad. If ever mother needed a good example for the right behavior, she would use Justice. Sorry, my dog. Keep out. She would use Justice. It drove Garcelle, Adan, and I crazy, but it was impossible to be angry with him. He had a way of making us all feel good about ourselves. He had a way of bringing out the good in us we might not have seen. I often wondered if he had the same sort of curse that I had. Never in my mind could I recall a time Justice was not fair and just. Never in my mind. Nope. If any pleaded to his sense of fairness, Justice would certainly execute it to the best that he knew how. No decision he made could be questioned because it was so wise and fair. He remained the hope of Tarlan in the midst of war and plague. I found him practicing swordsmanship with his instructor. He smiled at me when I appeared. Ah, Mercy, it is impossible to resist smiling at the sight of your beautiful dark curly head. He kissed my forehead tenderly. Dare I hope you are seeking me out, or is there another purpose you hold for your venturing here? I merely came hoping to find you unoccupied so as to keep me company during this lonely hour when our brothers have left, I replied. I had lost all my previous irritation at the sight of him. Justice sheathed his blade. Any excuse to stop this gruesome practice would suffice, but if I were to be riding on the wild fields with the wind behind me and the hills before me at the bidding of my fair sister, well, happily would I return to be in your presence for as long as you could desire, my sorry person. A smile played at my lips. Justice could always do that to me, make me smile. He put on his intricately embroidered coat. He looked fine in the deep blue color. Tell me, is your presence here for a purpose or merely a whim? He asked, taking my hand and placing it in his arm. He always spoke eloquently, like the prince that he was. Whenever he did, I found myself checking my normally rude and coarse tongue. Both, I fear. I have become angered towards Garcelle and Adan for forbidding me to use my archery skills against the rebels. I sighed, so I sought you out, hoping to be lifted from my sorry mood. Justice waited in case I had more to say. When he was sure I had finished, he began speaking. The war is not what you think, Mercy. His low, soft tone drew me in with interest. Gory scenes of blood and bone strewn over our once peaceful forest glades, our cities, our villages. These are not sights to be envied. I bit my lip in irritation. Justice has never quite believed that I was under a spell when I froze that day 2 years ago, but merely got a bad case of battle nerves. It's not the sights that I desire. You know I have seen them once before, but I long for the opportunity to use the skill which I have attained for the good of Tarlin. Justice waited, again, walking in silence through the marbled hall of the castle. You have many skills and gifts, Mercy. Your skill in archery is by no means small, but you mustn't demote the others you possess. Perhaps while our brothers are away, you may have more chances to work and improve your other skills and gifts for the good of Tarlin. I knew I should listen to Justice. He was never wrong, but I cared little for my other skills and gifts, particularly one regarding my name. You may find your other abilities to be of more value in the end. You are treating me as a child, Justice, as though you were our royal mother, I said. I apologize, dear Mercy. I was merely making a request. For the love of your beloved brother who is so fond of you, consider what I have said. I couldn't be mad at him. In that light, perhaps I will consider it. Justice embraced me. You are an angel, Mercy, a beautiful angel. Dinner was dull, for Justice came in late, and I never speak to Mother unless I have to. He had been judging a dispute between two landlords. When he entered, he looked upset. What happened, Justice? Queen Laria exclaimed. Your sad countenance, I fear, adds to the disparity of this table. Justice bowed. I apologize, Queen Mother. I'm afraid I'm allowing my sorrow over the sorry state of our kingdom and people intrude upon my countenance. He slumped down beside me and sighed. What's wrong with the kingdom? I whispered when the queen wasn't listening. Justice sighed again. The greed and oppression practiced in Tarlin is corrupting it, degrading it into a dirty heap of waste, the foul stench choking the inhabitants, the plague which is sweeping the poor families of our nation, the very plague which can easily be cured by good food and water is killing many even in the cities. He glanced around nervously. And continued in a hushed tone. More young boys have disappeared. My heart sank. I felt sick. Disappeared meant only one thing. Joined the rebel army. I sighed. Now my countenance matched Justice's. What is Tarlin come to? I was awoken in the middle of the night by a loud knock on the door. I stumbled out of bed, put my robe on, and opened the door. Justice, I said, surprised. What are you doing at my door at this hour? He breathed hard. His cloak was on, and he was fully clad in armor. The distress signal has been seen from Belorn. I'm leaving tonight, with some troops to try to save the city. But Garcelle and Adan have already left to fight the rebels in Fardmore, I said. It must have been a decoy. The major attack is on Belorn. They need reinforcements. Will you be all right? Feeling protective, I placed my hand on his shoulder, wishing I did not have to give him up. He held my hand there with his for comfort. I don't know how it will fare, but I will take care of myself and the troops and aim to return as soon as I can. I nodded, biting my lip. I knew he was afraid. Pray to aloud for me, he whispered. I embraced him. Then he turned to leave. I closed my eyes, allowing tears to escape. I was scared for him. I never feared when Garcelle or Adan left. Only Justice. I thought of what he'd asked me to do. No one ever prayed to Elar, not since Morgan came and raised a rebel army against us, not since the plague began to ravage the poor inhabitants of Tarlin, not since Elar abandoned us. Queen Maria and Justice were the only people I had ever heard who prayed to Elar or even mentioned him. Perhaps, though, I might make an exception for him, I thought, as I watched Justice disappear from my view down the shadowy stone hallway. Time passed slowly the next few days. Embroidering, I sat by my window where I could watch for him. I wanted to make something for Justice when he returned. He'd always loved golden embroidery. When the sun began to set on the 5th day, I saw a slow party of battle-wearied and wounded soldiers trudge over the drawbridge. On a stretcher lay a man, torn and bloodied. I raced down to meet him. I only had to see their faces to know who the man on the stretcher was. Justice. They put him down at my feet. I fell to my knees by his side. Justice, I wept. He had been stabbed deep in the side and shot in the shoulder by an arrow. He was barely breathing. Blood covered his body. I knew there was no hope for him. Mercy, he smiled. Remember what I said before I left? I nodded, my face red from weeping. Bare my chest. I stared at him surprised. Bare my heart. You need to see this. I obeyed and pushed the crimson torn tunic away from his chest and looked up brand, gilded in golden letters. It read, Elar's. He tried to smile. I'm marked. The queen appeared at his side. She also saw his mark. Tears filled her eyes when she realized his impending death. Confused, I stared at his chest. His breath slowly left him. His eyes focused on me as though he were trying to give me something or bind me to a promise. I stared back into his eyes, biting my lip, tears streaking my face. Whatever it is, I whispered, I will try to find out what you were saying. My solemn promise seemed to relieve him of some great burden. He smiled as he released his last breath. No! I shrieked with every ounce of my being. I embraced his lifeless body. My mother pulled me away from the body and held me while I wept. No, no, no. I whimpered into his shoulder. The golden gilded letters flashed over my eyes as his final words echoed in the chambers of my mind. What did he want me to know? What were those letters? What does he